Hello YouTube and Patreon, this is Nathan P. Butler, and this is our project update for the month of March 2023. So, I want to give you guys a rundown here. There just hasn't really been a whole lot done here in the last month or so. We have had some new releases that were pre-planned and pre-prepared through the Patreon and whatnot, but I want to also give you a sense of what is coming up as well. So hopefully this will be shorter than most of these. There just won't be as much to talk about. We'll see. I do tend to kind of run off at the mouth, even when there's nothing to talk about. It's a talent. Or a vice? Not really sure. So, first of all, let me thank all of you who are backers over there on my Patreon. That, of course, is patreon.com/NathanPButler. More about the Patreon, again, as a reminder here in a moment, and some suggestions for people in the different tiers. So, if you're a member of the Travelers through the Butler Universe, that means that you get thanked in videos like these. You're in the credits of videos like these, and if and when I ever do any type of like supplemental edition of a Saga on Home video to cover other stuff, newer stuff, maybe Spaceballs or something that is not in the cards yet, but something I could see myself maybe doing in the future, then yes, you'd get thanked on the Patreon credits page along with all those who are already thanked in a Saga on Home video 2nd edition. But these folks include a group of 10 right now: David Bittner, John Sullivan, Kai Jacoby, Story Mode, Travis Cook, Jeremy Goss, Ben Abrams, Jacob Kapoor, Tony Jenkins, and Kevin Kriener. Now, of course, the Travelers, they're the $1 tier. The Denizens of the Butler Universe, that's the $5 tier, get what they got, but also get access to those audio commentaries. At this point, as of just a matter of days from now, on April 1st, there'll be commentary series available in full for every single episode of Forces of Destiny, that is volumes 1 through 4. Tales of the Jedi, that is their first season. I don't know if there's going to be a second. I believe they said there will be. And then all 7 seasons of the Clone Wars plus its film. Kind of the best value tier, you might say, over there on Patreon. That is a group of 12 right now. Ben Whitmer, Mark D., Thomas Navin, Zach Whitbeck, Matt DeRocher, Walker Langstrat, Kyle Pellegrini, Joey Zitzman, Stephen Malicia, Robert Medina, Jeremiah Mustard, and Jaina Keller. Then we have the Nobility of the Butler Universe, the $10 tier, and these are the folks who get access to all of that stuff, but also get access to those monthly Q&A episodes that are exclusive to that group. They don't get aired anywhere else. They are longer form answers usually, because we have more time to go in-depth rather than with any of those Q&A episodes that I do here on the regular channel for From the Star Wars Home Video Library, or the mini Q&A episodes. This is currently a group of 8: Connor Stireman, Matthew Hardesty, Ennis, Big Mac Davis, Jonathan Confer, Andrew Bettis, Aaron Melzak, and Benjamin Handelman. So, some advice for the members of the different tiers. Let's say you're a traveler through the Butler Universe right now, that $1 tier. That means you're getting mentioned now, but you'll also get a mention if you stick around in April, May, and June. June's the one where I'm catching any stragglers who didn't get mentioned in May. Now, the key here is, though, if you're looking at the possibility of possibly getting in there and being on that thanks page, if I ever do another supplemental edition or something for a Saga on Home video, if you've already been a member of the Travelers, you're already one of them, right? As long as you've ever been a member and ever actually financially contributed, you got to the point where it billed and you got that $1 in, you're in. So there may not be a necessity to stick around unless you just want to hear your name mentioned more. For the Denizens of the Butler Universe, as I mentioned, the last commentary for the Clone Wars is going to be released on April 1st. After that point, as we get into like mid-April and beyond, there really isn't as much of a point of sticking around as a member of the Denizens anymore, because there's nothing unique to your tier or above that's going to be released after that point. You still get access to all the previous stuff, but nothing new. So what you might do if you're a member of the Denizens of the Butler Universe, sometime around, say, mid-April, you might go in, download all the commentaries that have been released for Clone Wars, for Forces of Destiny, for Tales of the Jedi. You've got all of them now. Save them. Hang on to them somewhere, because they won't be available once the Patreon closes. And then there's no need to stick around anymore unless you just want to be contributing that $5 per month. There won't be a benefit beyond what the Travelers get of just being mentioned in those project updates through the end of June. Then we have the Nobility of the Butler Universe. For Nobility of the Butler Universe, there's probably more of a reason to stick around, at least through maybe the first part of May, because you do still have 2 more Q&A episodes coming up. There is one at the beginning of April that'll use questions posted in March, one at the beginning of May that'll use questions posted in April, but then that's it. So maybe around mid-May, it makes sense for the Nobility of the Butler Universe to then bail. Again, all these just trying to give you a sense of when a particular tier stops getting new stuff, so you can feel free to bow out without feeling like you're missing anything. I know FOMO is a major thing at this point. I don't want you to feel like you're missing out, but I also don't want folks to stick around feeling like there's something more coming if there's not. You know the plan for ending the Patreon. I've said it many, many times. Go with whatever works better for you. All right, so let's talk new releases. There won't be much to talk about here. In February, back on February 21st, that is when the February 2023 project update video went up. So since then, we've had some commentaries released. On February 22nd, we had Tales of the Jedi Episode 4, The Sith Lord, get its audio commentary. Then on March 1st, the Clone Wars episode, The Phantom Apprentice, the second episode of the final arc of Season 7. Then the Nobility of the Butlerverse got their exclusive Q&A. It was number 63 out of what will apparently be 65 total on March 6th. Then on March 8th, we had the fifth, the penultimate Tales of the Jedi commentary, which is Practice Makes Perfect. Then on March 15th, the Ides of March, we had the Clone Wars commentary, Shattered. That leaves us two commentaries to go, one for Tales of the Jedi and one for the Clone Wars. The Tales of the Jedi one, which may be being released right around the same time that this video here is released. I'm not entirely sure what the timing will be of me getting a chance to edit anything, including this. But we have Tales of the Jedi commentary for the episode Resolve, which is the last episode of Season 1. That'll be released on March 22nd. And then on April 1st, the final commentary number 134, there's 133 episodes plus the film, commentary 134, Victory and Death. That will round out Season 7 and all of the Clone Wars. And at that point, the entirety of 3 Star Wars series will have audio commentaries all available through the Patreon until the Patreon closes. There will also, of course, in early April be that exclusive Q&A that I mentioned, but that's not something with a set date. After that, though, literally the only things being produced in relation to the Patreon will be the Q&A in April and May, and then we'll also have the project updates continuing on in April, May, and June. The Patreon itself will close shortly after the billing cycle goes through at the beginning of June, as I've mentioned before. As far as anything new, though, that's actually out, that's basically it. Normally, this is when I talk about, hey, most of my stuff is on YouTube, except I haven't had a chance to put out anything through YouTube in the last month or so. I've got some stuff recorded. I actually recorded an episode quite a while ago that I still haven't had a chance to edit on a gift that I received, which is a fan-made mock-up of what the Star Wars Holiday Special would have looked like if it had got a magnetic video release at the time. We're going to be looking at that in an episode, recorded but not edited. I've got a couple things that have come in that I haven't had a chance to research enough to actually do episodes on yet. That is a Japanese version of the Revenge of the Sith soundtrack that includes the A Musical Journey DVD. Unfortunately, part of the case is cracked, but finding a case that exactly matches it to replace it is kind of a pain. And then a French version of the Clone Wars film on Blu-ray that emphasizes a certain marketing type of the time. So I'll be recording episodes on those latter two sometime soon. When time finally permits, I have no idea when that will be. Basically, right now, work is sucking up whatever time I have. The short version, I don't want to bore you with it too much. Basically, the gist of it is that we've got some courses we need to have a company make for us. Doing that requires putting together what's called a curriculum map, a massive Excel file that includes all kinds of information so they can just use that as they build the course for us. Usually the person we would have making that, and paid a little extra to do that because it is a paid thing, but the person we'd have making that would be someone who has taught that course before. Duh, so they're familiar with it, familiar with the curriculum, familiar with all that stuff. And these are AP courses, so familiar with how the AP process works for that course. Problem is, the people who've taught it with us before didn't want to do it. And it's a voluntary thing. So as the lead teacher, who also is the primary teacher for that particular subject area, economics, it got dropped on me. So I am having to basically learn the courses and learn the AP curricula and kind of using my knowledge from, Econ 101 and 102 in college, but basically learning the stuff and learning how the course works in order to create those maps to give to the company to make the course. And it is an immense time sink. I think it's being paid as like 10 hours per semester course. I've sunk at least 15 just into one of them so far because I don't know the courses and I'm having to learn as I go. But it's got to be done, and there is a time frame in which it all must be completed. That is where my time has been going. That is why, if it's a Saturday when I would normally maybe be doing some stuff for me, nope, my son and I are in my office and I'm working on that. Spring break, much of the time, my son and I will be in my office working on that. Days like today, when I actually get a chance to record, all I'm recording is the bare minimum that I can, like this, and then I will be working on that. All that until it's done. Whatever time I have for me basically doesn't exist anymore until this is done, because others decided they didn't want to do it, and somebody had to. Downside of being in a leadership position and typically being a reliable individual, I suppose. But yeah, so just all my time right now that I can spare is being spent on stuff that has to get done. And that's on top of other stuff that's been kind of lumped on us, but, you know, just working through it. Suffice to say, work is the big time sink right now, even well outside of work hours, and there's just nothing I can do about it. So, unfortunately, that means a dearth of content here on the channel. Thankfully, there's that stuff that was already pre-recorded, like the commentaries and stuff for Patreon, but just not a lot of stuff that I can do at this point. Hopefully next month, with spring break giving me some time, hopefully with that stuff getting done before the end of break, it'll be a little bit better. The only other thing I've been able to actually record recently that is not edited, my wife was out of town for a few days. My son went to sleep early enough, so I came in here and set things up and did a content overview video for Series 2, Wave 2 of the board game Final Girl, which is over 100 short little video clips as I showed all the content that I now need to edit together into a video that'll probably be over an hour long when it's done. So I've got 2 things to edit and put out: the holiday special gift fan mock-up thing and the Final Girl thing. At least 2 things to record, which would be the Clone Wars thing here and the Musical Journey thing here with the Revenge of the Sith soundtrack from Japan and all that. But no idea when I'm going to get time to do any of that, because again, every free moment right now is taken up by work straight through. Once I get that done during spring break is hopefully to spend some time on that home video spreadsheet to keep getting that ready, with adding more stuff to it and making sure that it's there and ready to go, so that eventually I can share that for those who want to track their collections with it. But I couldn't tell you how much, if any, I'm going to actually get a chance to do with that over break. I'm not visiting anywhere. I'm not visiting family over break for various reasons. We're going to wait on that till a little while later. So on the plus side, I'm not traveling for part of that, so I'm not losing days in the car, but still, we'll see how long this is going to take. I've got one class that's probably about a quarter done of the 2. The other one's probably about 50 to 75% done. But I keep hitting points where I just don't know what I'm doing. I've got to go through and learn the stuff before I can even figure out what to do with it. So it's taking a ridiculous amount of time. So that being said, hope you'll forgive the fact that there just wasn't a lot of stuff released since the last update. It was all basically through Patreon. Hopefully I'll get a chance to get at least a little bit of this stuff, at least the pre-recorded stuff, out before the next one. Thank goodness we do have spring break coming, so hopefully I can get some of that done while working on other stuff, like maybe edit while I'm doing other stuff. So hopefully there'll be better news with new releases here when we meet for the project update in April, and then again there'll be one in May and June. After that, the project updates will continue, but they'll be more spread out rather than being a monthly obligation as we go. And in case you're wondering, I keep looking at this behind me. So my old chair that I used in here, the cat's claws finally ripped up enough of the faux leather that it was falling apart and shedding leather, fake leather bits all over the floor. So I did finally replace the chair. Same kind that I have in my at my desk in our bedroom, basically. Something I could get on sale that I know works well at Staples. But the downside, of course, being that because of its shape, it does have a little bit of this blocked behind me, so you can't quite see directly behind me anymore. I also need to put the arms up, because ever since I switched to this new tripod and iPad holder, I feel like constantly the back is slightly tilted. There's something up with the holder that slightly tilts it, and that means that it's always going to look weird with one of these arms higher up than the other unless I do this, and it's more just kind of hidden behind me. So I did get a new chair. That was cool. That was a positive for the month, but otherwise kind of a drag of a month. But hopefully your month went better. Hopefully those of you who are in school or teaching or anything will enjoy spring break, which is either happening now or coming up for most of the country, at least in the United States. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a good month for you guys and a more productive month for me coming up. With that, though, I will wrap up here before I run too long at the mouth, as I seem to already be. Thank you for your interest in the projects, and I will catch you in a month.